Being an entrepreneur can be a lonely place. Most businesses don't even get past the first 3 years. So in this series, we're going to be talking to entrepreneurs that are high-performing or high-performing businesses that can help you with hints, tips and hacks to help you fast-forward your way to success. My name is Mark Burgess. I've got over 20 years experience working as an entrepreneur, building up various different businesses. I've wrote a best-selling book, I speak nationally and internationally at different conferences, and this is Raising Your Game. On today's episode of Raising Your Game, I'm talking to Linzi Boyd. Linzi has helped global brands, and she's helped over 3,500 companies that have been through her business school discover why being a purpose-driven company beats being a product-driven company. Hi, Linzi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming in.
No worries.
Before we start getting into questions, are you all right just to give people a bit of a background on yourself and what you're all about?
Yeah, of course. I'm Linzi Boyd, and I was one of those young kids that left school at the age of 15. And I left school with no qualifications, and my kind of mum said to me at an early age, "What are you going to do with your life, Linzi?" And I turned around to her and I said, "Don't worry, Mum, I'm going to be as big as Oprah Winfrey." And my mum kind of went, "You've really lost the plot this time." Anyway, so I kind of saw something in Oprah, something around like doing impact world stuff that I must have been intrigued about. And at the age of 18, I set my first business up, which was a retail shop, and then sold that at 20. And then at the age of 20, I set up a footwear business with my then shoe designer partner. And we basically had 7 distribution channels running around the world. And I sold the business to Caterpillar when I was 24.
Wow.
And from that point, I set my third business up when all my friends were going to university. And over a 17-year period, I got very well known for building, renovating and refreshing some of the most famous brands on the high street today. What I'm really known for now, I moved into the world of enterprise, business owners 7 years ago, and I decided that I didn't want to build people's businesses just around a commercial standpoint anymore. I had to be building businesses that were going to build it around a purpose and help them make money. And so we are really all about shifting the world into a new era through the eyes of brands, through the eyes of businesses. And my belief is that we can shift the world by enabling businesses to understand how to build a business around a purpose that will impact change in the world and drive a commercial gain.
Wow. Okay, that's the story. So, a couple of things come out of that for me. There'll be some people that are watching this at the moment, the show's for entrepreneurs, so some people might be watching that and thinking to themselves, well, we're quite a small business.
Yeah.
You know, maybe our turnover's under $1 million, maybe it's just over $1 million, but we're classed as a small business. And so, you know, Linzi's background sounds amazing, but it sounds like she helps companies like Nike figure out how to solve like water problems in Africa.
Yeah.
But like, can a small business have an impact on a global scale?
Oh, so I predominantly work with early stage growth businesses that are looking, or established, that are looking to scale up. So we have a business school called Bob, and in that school I can have a business that's sometimes at 80,000 in revenue, sat next to a business that could be at 120 million in revenue, any industry sector, and they're all building their business off the same foundation. What we teach people, it's not about the size of business that you are, it's about your vision, it's about your attitude, and it's about being able to understand how to build your business to scale up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what revenue number you're at to be able to make that impact.
Wow. So for all the companies that you see, all the businesses that you've worked for, what do you think, for the people that come through Bob, for instance, is the most common kind of problem that someone says to you where you immediately think to yourself, like, we can solve that?
The biggest problem that people have is mindset change. You know, you can have lots of people that come in that have got great businesses, they have a vision of some description. But when you're trying to build a business model that will really scale, that will really impact, you're trying to stretch somebody's mindset to go from a today business model, as we describe it, and really stretch them to the nth degree of what's that future picture, what's that future number, what do you really want to do? And we say to them, what do you really want to be known for? And remember who you are in order to be able to achieve that. Yeah. And then you're remodeling somebody's whole business model. And so the biggest thing is mindset change. Yeah. How do you take somebody from one mindset of where they've been sometimes for 20, 30 years to be able to shift them into another mindset?
And when you say mindset, do you think it's more around their mindset that they could achieve that? Or do you think it's around their mindset of the way business works?
The way business works. So what we're teaching a lot of businesses that are coming through, we have accountants, lawyers, HR, we sat next to a SaaS business or a fashion designer. So all industry sectors. And the biggest thing is that people are still building their business off a traditional business model, pre-digital, and people are still in that mindset. Or they're high technology businesses that aren't in that mindset, but they don't have enough knowledge of how to build the business out to that big vision. And so it's not so much a mindset around, can I do this or could I? You know, it's more the knowledge of the business model around how to shift from one business model to another.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think, you know, my business works specifically with estate agents, for instance.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time when I talk to those businesses, it's like they're frozen in time, yeah. like the internet never happened, you know, people should be happy just to have a job, you know, and everything around the company sort of stems off of that, you know. So what do you find is one of the biggest impacts that it has on a business when they do start to change, both good and bad? Because obviously, like, you know, there'll be some people that don't come on the journey, I guess, if it really kicks in.
Yeah. So our business model, Bob, is around building brands to shift industries. So we are specifically focused on how do we make an industry shift. So, you know, I've been in with the estate agent industry. Yesterday I was in with the accounting industry. And it's interesting when you're in those types of industries that you are really looking at modeling something very different because it has to be technology enabled. You have to be looking at a business that's going from a faceless organization to a business with a face, because people now buy into the real side of a business and it's no longer just about a faceless brand. People need to look at a business now not just from a P&L perspective of how you're going to make money, but also look at intangible assets that are going to drive a valuation up. And ultimately, purpose-led businesses grow the fastest. And yet at the same time, if you're building a business that's a fake purpose or you're just doing it as a marketing strapline, people see through that as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of different elements that you're building when you're building a business model to take it from a push business model that's just having to use sales teams to a pull business model that attracts the market into you.
Yeah, wow. And so the traditional business model, I guess, I mean, you correct me if you see it differently. Traditional business model is I'm going to set up my business and then I'm going to try and sell stuff to people.
Yep.
And then I'm going to try and sell more stuff to people.
Yep.
How does that conflict with, I know we spoke about when we want a business with purpose. Bottom line of any business, obviously you've got to make some profit. So how do the two start to connect together?
One of the things that we teach people is that you're taught in business school or when you're building a business, what do you sell? You sell your products, and the next thing you do is you sell the benefits of the product, right? So what's the sizzle? Yeah. And most businesses are taught in that way. And so then what they're doing, if you go out and research the market, 87% of businesses are selling the products and the benefits. And the only way to do that is by pushing it onto the market. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at different industries and you look at their websites, pretty much everybody's saying the same thing with the same messaging. And so that's called push selling. When you want to move into a pull environment, the only way of doing that is never talking about your products and benefits ever again.
Wow.
And we teach people how to move from selling products and benefits, which is in a marketplace which is saturated now, to move into a space of pull where you can own a space and market in a space, and you don't have to sell products and benefits.
Wow, I love that. I mean, so let's look at, I mean, again, this shows for any kind of business, but let's specifically look at an estate agency. I know obviously, like, you know, this is just a short program, so you're not going to be able to go into it in full detail as if someone was on one of your courses.
Yeah.
But an estate agent might immediately face the problem that, okay, I'm going to do that, but when I go, people just, they want to know about the product. They want to know how much is the house worth and how quickly can you sell it.
Yeah.
And I want to move away from that to more of this idea that we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's your thinking around that?
The key driver is the emotional connection of the customer and not the sales journey. So believe it or not, the sales journey was created in the 70s because at that point there were loads of products and you had to sell to the person at every point. And that was when it was introduced. Before that, there wasn't loads of products. You had one toaster and you just needed to know how to use it, right? What happened now is we're in the who era, which is the emotional connection of the customer. And people do not want to be sold to anymore. What they want is for you to be able to go, oh my God, you know me. How do you know me? So if I'm a woman and I'm juggling with the kids and so forth, I want you to be able to speak to me and go, you know, it could feel like you've just got out of bed and you've had everything, you've been working all morning and then you've walked into a meeting and you've done a day's work. And so how do you market to somebody about who they are, their emotions, without having to say to them, would you like to buy a house from me? Yeah. Is it this house that you want? Yeah. And that will engage me more to be able to have a conversation with you. It's
like a personalised journey, basically.
Yeah, but from the emotions. And at no point will you be selling to me.
Yeah, I love that. I said to someone the other day, like, you know, people love to buy stuff, they just don't want to be sold to.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've got to go to a break. I've got a few more questions I want to ask you around that.
Good.
Don't go away. Okay, Lindsay, so before the break, we were talking about how companies now need to be more purpose-driven than product-driven.
Yeah.
So what's some kind of ways that a business owner could start trying to examine which of the two they are and how they could maybe alter their business to be more pull than push?
Good question. What we teach people is to be able to look at an audit of their business first. What are they doing in 4 elements of their growth strategy, of their growth system? The first one is, what are you doing in your brand? Don't think about your brand as branding, the logo, the look and feel, the visual tone, but think about your brand as your business model. It's your whole business after all. So there are 3 elements in there that you really want to be looking at. The first one is who you're talking to and do you know the emotional connection of that customer? The second one is remember who you are. So what do you want to be known for? And if there's one thing that they can do when they finish watching this program is go away and think about what do you want to be known for? Why are you doing what you're doing? And the third thing is there's always an asset that sits in somebody's business that is the herbs and spices of what they do. And it might not be the product that they're selling. And if they can understand and uncover that, they could build the whole business model around that to be able to increase the valuation and the sales and the awareness and include the purpose and the emotional journey with that.
Yeah, wow. Okay. And I guess one hurdle you must get over when you're doing this is to keep on mistaking your product for your purpose. So let's say I'm just imagining an estate agent's thinking about this and you go, what do you want to be known for? And they go away and go, oh, for selling houses. Like, no, that's
still the product.
That's still the product, right?
Yeah.
So that they want to be known for something more than that.
Yeah.
They want to be known maybe for like helping young people get on the property ladder,
yeah.
helping families move on in their life, helping, you know, something bigger than like just selling a house.
And then if it's helping families move on in their life, instead of that being a marketing strapline or on their wall as their mission or vision or values, we're teaching them how to drive it through the whole of the business model. So now you need to think about, what products do I need to design around that?
Yeah.
Tangible products and intangible products.
Yeah.
What channels do I need to go through? What's the sales process that I need to put around that? Am I driving it off sales-led campaigns, or am I driving it off brand-led campaigns that are not going to talk about the products at all?
Yeah, as you said at the beginning, it's a whole mindset shift.
Yeah.
Very difficult for a company to get their head around, because I was talking to a client the other day who are moving from a high street office location to an out of town location. And they're not doing it for financial reasons. They're actually doing it for the purpose that back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the high street was the most convenient place. Now it couldn't be any more inconvenient.
Yeah.
Right? So they're doing it from a convenience point of view, and they said, maybe you could build some campaign around this. And I said the same thing as what you're saying, that actually, when you think about it, this goes to the core of your whole business
model.
Like you can change everything around convenience.
Yeah.
So if that's the case,
yeah.
for it to really work,
yeah.
it's got to sit right at the core of the company. I guess, like, for existing businesses, they must, when they try and do it, they must face challenges. Well, I know they do, because we've done it ourselves, from pushback from existing staff, because it's just natural for somebody to compare the way it used to be to the way it is now,
yeah.
and feel a bit uncomfortable with that. People don't like change. So how does a company get the staff on board, or even know when it's the end of the road for that person?
So we've had about 3,500 businesses come through our school. So all different shapes and sizes and all different industries. And that's one of the key drivers that we have to look at when they go out of the school and back into the business. And the key thing that we do and we say to people is, how do you drive the business model internally into the organisation? And instead of having culture internally, how do you bring the culture and market it externally? Which is very different from what the market says. The market says market your business, your brand externally, and build the culture internally. What that means is you are aligning every single person in your organisation with the business model. What's the vision? What's the purpose? Where are you building it to? What does it look like? And then you align the people's voices around how now they want to go and talk about their personal purpose with the business purpose. And they're able to speak externally into the marketplace.
Okay. And what about if one of those clients has somebody that is a high performer in terms of, I don't know, they do a lot of sales, but they don't buy into this new fandangled vision. They're just like, it's not for me, but I'm doing all the sales.
What you find when you do brand culture, as opposed to just culture, is you see brand alignment between the people brands and the business brand. So you do a whole session on the people brands of the organisation, and you're able to identify, what's that sales guy's purpose? What does he really want to do? Why is he working for you in the first place? What does he want to talk about externally? And it might be something that's not just about sales. If you can get to the core of him, as well as the business brand, and you align the two, because if they're not aligned, typically they probably won't stay, then you're able to have what we call brand culture, which brings the people brands and the business brands together. And that's how you bind the whole thing.
Wow. So can I make up an example and you can tell me if it's on the right sort of lines then? Let's go back to the estate agency model, because that's what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
You've got a lady who works for you part-time because she's got a couple of children and she has to do the school runs. With a product-driven company, she goes around people's houses and tries to tell them why you're the best estate agent in the world. Mm-hmm. With a purpose-driven company, perhaps she goes around and talks about the fact that your company tries to solve a bigger purpose. Herself has this situation whereby she had a career, then she had children, and now she's got children. Now she's got to do the school run.
Juggle between that.
And so the company is interested in supporting her in that way, and because of it, we're interested in helping people support their specific circumstances. I know that you're a person who's got this problem, this problem, this problem, and this is how we work to work with you to make that an easier journey.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
And another overlay of it, because you've talked about a woman that's juggling, is female entrepreneurs working from the kitchen table. What type of environment are you working in? She can talk about her environment, how she's a working mum, what that means, what it means for the housing industry. When you're looking at different houses that you're buying, we understand that a house for this type of person and this type of kitchen and what that looks like and so forth. So even if you're bridging it off the female side, you can bring it back into the home. Yeah. And then she would have a positioning in the marketplace that would pull all that side of the market into the estate agent that you or somebody else just might not be able to do.
Yeah, and it makes it easier for her to create her marketing as well, because
Absolutely.
she's not just talking in a broad sense.
Exactly.
And I guess also with tools like Facebook and stuff, you can make sure that that ad only lands in front of the right kind of people.
Of course.
Do you think that one of the issues that why companies don't do this is because it's more hard work than just having someone make you a logo and trying to sell a product?
I think the main reason for people not doing it is because they don't know how. Coming from having now so many businesses come through, and we're in Australia and we're in Korea and we're in America, so I've seen all the diverse mix of all the different businesses coming through. The main problem is people don't know what they don't know. And we have a lot of businesses come through going, why hasn't anybody taught me this? Why didn't anybody teach me this 20 years ago? I could have been doing this for the last 10 years. And yes, it's a changeover, and yes, it's a mindset change, but the results that you get from doing this and how you can take market share and how you can lead a market rather than follow a market is, you know, ridiculous.
Yeah, I have to make you right on that. I mean, I went through that process myself. I'd had various different businesses over 20 years. And probably only 8 years ago did I start realising, actually, this is not really much different to, say, buying a rundown property, renovating it and selling it for more money.
That's what we talk about in school.
I mean, it is
we say the same analogy.
It's literally like you follow these steps.
Yep.
And don't get carried away putting like stained glass windows in. Yep. You only need to do this, this and this, and it'll be worth this amount of money.
Exactly.
And I think you're right. When you have those eye-opening moments, which hopefully this show brings to some people, you do suddenly think to yourself like, why did no one ever tell me this stuff? So going off track on that a little bit, do you think that that sort of stuff should be making its way into schools now?
So our purpose, our main purpose of our business is to teach kids how to become an entrepreneur, how to enable them. You're in. And my belief is, coming from a girl that left school at 15 because I felt let down by the schooling system, I believe that children should be being taught in the school and not when you leave, and not even when you've gone through university, but this should be being taught in schools. And if they were being taught this in schools, they would come out of schools with a completely different mindset of how they would be building a business. Yeah. The beauty of kids these days is when I do go in and teach the younger generation and I say, what do you want to do with your business? And they go, well, I just want to put coding into schools, or I just want to go and change the world. You don't need to teach these kids to be purpose-led. They are already purpose-led. It's our generation and the generation above that you're trying to change the mindset and do an unlearning piece. Kids are in that mindset, but they don't have the tools to know how to do it, how to build it, what to do, what are the mistakes you need to look at. Let me shortcut some stuff that you just don't need to do. Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right. I find myself talking to my kids who are same age as your children, 8 and 11, and whenever I talk to them about stuff, not like I sit them down and drill them on things, but talk to them about the importance of, I don't know, monthly reoccurring revenue or you know, lifetime value or any of that sort of stuff. I can't help but feel everyone should know this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can work anywhere now. Like by schools saying like, oh, we teach them programming and they work on iPads. It's like that's just standard.
Of course.
Like, what about the fact that they don't yet realise of this whole gig economy? Like, you know, all of these sorts of things. I think if you can get into schools and start adding that to what already exists, that'd be amazing. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.